In this video, you are going to learn how to create a responsive layout design using CSS Grid. Can you see? This is how it's going to look like on desktop devices. Now, right click and click on inspect. This is how it's going to look like on tablet devices, while this is how it's going to look like on mobile devices. So let's dive in straight into today's video and see how to create a responsive layout design using CSS Grid. Now, in order to get started, firstly, I'm going to change the name of the document. So after that, I'm going to link the CSS to the HTML. Then I'm going to give it the basic markup. Firstly, I'm going to give it a div class of grid container. As you can see here, I have my browser side by side with my code editor so that you can be seeing what is going on in the live updates here. So after the header semantic tag, so I'm also going to give it another one called nav. So in the nav, I'm going to write nav bar. Then I'm going to give it another tag called aside. Then in the aside, I'm going to write sidebar. Followed by main. So in the main, I'm going to write main section. I'm going to give it another div class of content1. So I'm going to duplicate this section so that then I'm going to rename this one as content2. Then in the content1, I'm going to write content1. Then in the content2, I'm going to write content2. Now, I'm done with the basic markup. So I'm going to come to the CSS by giving it some styling. So firstly, I'm going to target the universal selector. I'm going to remove the default padding and margin. So I'm going to write padding of 0. The margin is also going to be 0 as well. The font family is going to be sans serif. And the box sizing is going to be border box. So I'm going to give it a font size of 30 pixels. So I'm going to give it a font weight of bold. So I'm also going to give it a text align center so that all the text can be aligned to the center. So I'm going to give it a background color of blue violet. Then the color is going to be white. Now let's target the grid container class. In the grid container class, I'm going to give it a width of 100%. Then I'm going to give it an height of 100 viewports high. So after that, I'm going to give it a display grid. Then I'm going to give it a grid gap of 10 pixels. I'm going to specify the number of columns and the number of rows that we need. So here I'm going to write grid template column. Basically, we need 3 columns. So in the first column, I'm going to have 200 pixels, while in the second column, I'm going to have 1 fraction, and in the third column, I'm going to have 1 fraction as well. I'm going to give it some rows. Basically, we need 5 rows. Now, let me show you what is happening here so that you can understand better. Can you see what is going on? So basically, I wanted to give it 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 columns, as you can see. So that is what I wanted to specify right now. So let's move on. So I'm going to give it grid template rows. It's going to be 100 pixel that is the first row. The second row is also going to be 100 pixel. The third row is going to be 1 FR. The fourth row is going to be 1 FR as well, while the last one is going to be 100 pixel. So now I wanted to specify the grid template areas after this. So I'm going to set the grid template areas. I'm going to write header. So I want header to be in the serial column. That is, header will be in the first serial column. Then I'm going to write it 3 times. After the header, I'm going to write navbar. Navbar is going to be in the first column. Navbar is going to be in the second column, while navbar is going to be in the third column. You will understand what I'm doing now, don't worry. So after the navbar, so in the third row, the first column is going to be sidebar. So it's going to be sidebar. Then after the sidebar, I'm going to have main. Then it's going to be main as well. Then for the fourth row, the first column is going to be sidebar, while the second column is going to be content 1, while the third column is going to be content 2. So now let's move on to the footer. I'm going to move to the footer. Then I'm going to write footer. Footer is going to occupy the first column, the second column, and the third column is going to be footer. Now after that, now let's specify the grid area. Here I'm going to target the header. So I'm going to give it a background color of RGB 0,217,255. Can you see? After that, I'm going to specify the grid area. So the grid area is going to be header. So I wanted this text to be in the middle. So I'm going to write place content center. So it's going to be in the center. Can you see? The text has been aligned to the center and in the middle. So I'm going to duplicate this line of code several times. So after the header here, I'm going to change this one to navbar. So that is nav. So that is the semantic tag. So here will now be navbar. So then you are going to change the color code here. The color code is going to be 37183. Can you see the color code? So after the navbar, then I'm going to target the aside. That is going to be the sidebar. That is the semantic tag aside. Then you are going to change it to sidebar. So then the color code is going to be changed. Now let's change the color code. The color code is going to be 255,145,0. Can you see? The color has been applied. So after the sidebar, now let's target the main section. So I'm going to change this one to main. So now here is going to be main as well. Can you see? So I'm going to change the color code as well. is going to be 255, 0, 179. Can you see? So after the main, let's move on to the content one. So is a class, so I'm going to write dot content one. So I'm going to change it to content one as well. Content one. Then I'm going to change the color code. It's going to be 3, 104, 62. That's the color code for content one. Can you see? So I'm going to duplicate this section as well. Now, so I'm going to change this one to content 2. Then this one, I'm going to change it to 2. This one will be changed to 2, and the color code will change as well. The color code is going to be 185, 37, 37. Can you see? This is it. Now we are left with the footer. So this place, I'm going to change it to footer. So it's going to be footer. So likewise, I'm going to change this place. I'm going to change this one to footer as well. So then I'm going to change the color code to this particular color. One 39, 139, 139. So now let's come back to the HTML section. So in the HTML section, let's specify the footer. So in the footer, we are going to write footer. So then it's going to appear. Can you see? Now basically we are done with the desktop version. Let's see the full view. This is how the desktop version is going to be. Now I wanted to make sure this is responsive on all devices, both desktop, tablet and mobile. So in order to make it responsive, we are going to use media queries. So I'm going to remove this color. So I only use it as a placeholder initially so that you can understand what is going on the page. So I'm going to remove this background color here. It is only a placeholder. Can you see? I've removed it. So I'm going to write at media, then I'm going to write max width, colon, max width is going to be 700 pixels. So which means the effect that I wanted to use, that is the effect that I wanted to add now, will be applied once it gets to 700 pixels and below. So I'm going to target the grid container first. So I'm going to give it a width of 100% and an height of 100 viewport high. Then I'm going to give it a display grid as well. So I'm going to write grid gap is going to be 10 pixels. Then I'm going to give it grid template column. So the grid template column is going to be one fraction. I only need one column instead of 3 columns on desktop devices. Mobile devices, we are going to have 1 column and 7 rows so that all these items can stack on top of each other. Then I'm going to give it grid template rows. So I'm going to specify the number of rows that I wanted to appear. So the grid template rows, we are going to have 7 rows. The first row is going to be auto. The second row is going to be auto as well. That is, they are going to be of the same size. While the third row is going to be 15%. The fourth row is going to be 15% as well. While the fifth row is going to be 10%. The sixth row is going to be 10%, while the last row is going to be 10% as well. So I'm going to specify the grid template areas. The first one I'm going to target is the header. So the header will be in the first row. After the header, I'm going to target the nav bar. The nav bar will be in the second row. After the nav bar, we have main. Main will be in the third row. After main, we have sidebar. Sidebar will be in the fourth row. After the sidebar, we have content 1, which will be in the fifth row. Content 2, content 2, which will be in the sixth row, while the footer, we have the footer, which will be in the last row. So this is the full view. Now right click and click on inspect so that we can see the responsiveness on both tablet and mobile. Can you see? This is how it's going to look like on mobile devices. This is how it's going to look like on tablet devices, while this is how it's going to look like on desktop devices. If you really enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. Also turn on the post notification bell so that each time I upload a new video, you will be the first person to be updated. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.